One of my lifelong ambitions is about to be realized. I'm going to learn how to drive a steam engine.
Anyone visiting my home in Cardiff would see that I've been a steam enthusiast most of my life. My childhood ambitions to become an engine driver succumbed to a career in television, where I'm most well known for my appearances on HTV Wales.
Here on the Great Central Railway in Loughborough, it's a gala weekend, and today there are no less than 9 locomotives in steam.
On temporary loan from the North Yorkshire Moors Railway, 30926 Schools Class Repton, and on long-term loan from the Birmingham Railway Museum at Tyseley, 5593 Jubilee, Kolhapur. (34105) unrebuilt West Country Swanage from the Mid-Hants. 7760 Pannier Tank, another long-term loan from Tyseley. GCR Resident J94 Sterity 68009. 35005 Merchant Navy Canadian Pacific, owned by Andrew Naish. And right at the other end of the scale, Liverpool and Manchester replica Planet.
And this is the locomotive I'm hoping to get to know rather well during the next few days, Clun Castle.
The original GCR opened the line as part of its London extension to Marylebone in 1899. The current owners are the Great Central Railway 1976 plc, whose claim is that the line is now Britain's only mainline steam railway. Before long, the whole line will be doubled, and in the future there's a likely northern extension to Nottingham in the offing as well. Mainline aspirations have given the GCR a considerable infrastructure, and it's in these surroundings that I'm hoping to get a condensed version of traditional footplate training. So, feeling somewhat like a trainee must have felt back in the 1950s, I went to meet my mentors, Motive Power Superintendent Phil Wheeldon and ex-BR steam driver Bill Gwilt.
That's mate. Pleased to meet you.
Can we get you a cup of tea?
Oh, I'd love one, thank you. Well, there's a wonderful atmosphere here at Loughborough. Bill, you worked for BR. How does it compare to the days of steam?
It's similar in ways, but on a lot smaller scale. Obviously, you haven't got the hot ashes and the full ash pits like you did on BR, and all the coal and muck round the yard like you used to have. But similar, yep.
Where were you based?
I started off at Bedford in the earlier days when I first joined the railway. Then I went to Kentish Town on loan for a little while, because at that time people were moving around because of shortage of staff. And then I went to Bletchley and then finished up at Camden.
Did you find it ironic that there are so many people now who want to come on these learning to drive courses and footplate experience courses?
When I was on the rail working for BR, it was just a job to us. Although I was fascinated by railways, that's why I went on the railway in the first place. Although it's still a job, and when I see the people who work on preservation today, and obviously the work's nowhere near as hard as what it was when we were doing it, although we were young chaps and it didn't really matter to us, but I think a lot of people who work on preservation today, if they knew what it was like on BR, they probably wouldn't come on preservation.
The driving courses you run here are very popular. What do they entail?
Well, basically the cheapest course consists of 2 hours driving the engine, light engine up the line. That's, in other words, just the engine only, no coaching stock behind it, and then can go up more or less as many times as they want to. About 5 miles the distance, which compared to other railways are doing, it's good value for money, and they love it. They can't get enough of it.
The loco that I'm going to be driving is, hopefully driving, is Clun Castle. Why have you chosen a castle class? I would have thought it would have been a pannier or something smaller. Not that I'm complaining, I hasten to add.
Well, you being from Wales, we thought that was rather appropriate, and there's quite a lot of room in the cab. So it's ideal for that purpose, particularly from filming point of view. So
it's a right-hand drive as well.
It's right-hand drive, yes.
Will that help me or hinder me?
Well, it'll help you for stopping in the right place when you come into a platform at the intermediate station, so you'll be able to see where you can stop the train correctly. So rather than being left-hand drive, it's difficult because all the stations on this line,
the left-hand drive engine.
yeah, and all the stations on this line are island platforms, so you know it's easier from a right-hand drive engine.
Well, with us. With the experience, we know exactly where to stop. We have our stopping points when we got a left-hand drive engine. We got markers.
So, Bill, how long would it take in the days of BR to qualify as a driver, right from the start, progress all the way up?
Well, I was fortunate, really, because when I started on BR in 1952, I started in the January, and I was firing in the September 53. But that was because there were so many drivers retiring at that time. There was a whole batch of drivers retiring because they were short staff. So I was fortunate in the fact that I was 18 months and I was on the footplate, although I was just, you know, around the shunting yards and that. And I was shunting for about a year, and then I was put in a link because, as you know, or you don't know, that as a past cleaner, you done spare jobs. If anybody went sick, a fireman went sick, you done his job, or at least you went on the shunting yard, and that fireman got progressed into the, or if it was a mainline job, he went onto that, done by seniority. And within a year, I was put in a link, which was the disposal link, which was the first link a fireman went into after being passed out. What you done was any engine that came on the shed, you put it away. In other words, you disposed it and put it to bed, as we called it. 8 engines a day, that was your shift, 8-hour shift. If you were lucky enough and got the afternoon shift and you got all the engines coming in at one go, you was probably home in 2 hours, engines away and away. And that's how you start.
You were very fortunate in getting on the footplate firing quite quickly, weren't you?
Oh yeah, it was, yeah.
A lot of firemen, they went 20, 30, even 40 years before they even got to become a driver, didn't they? And some never did because the progress was so slow.
Yeah, well, when I went to Camden from Bletchley, there were still firemen there of 56 years of age.
But if somebody came here and they really genuinely wanted to learn to drive properly and go through all the qualifications, the examinations, what would happen? Would they really have to start at the bottom, cleaning the engine for a year, and then fireman for a year? And
yeah, yes, they start right at the bottom. That's general dog's body, if you like to call it. They do everything that's required on shed, from cleaning smoke boxes, fire boxes out. And that is the filthiest job going, isn't it, Bill?
Oh,
that really is filthy. And if they can stay the course on that, then the rest is easy by comparison. They do a little bit of fitting work, a little bit of maintenance, perhaps a little bit of restoration, a lot of cleaning the locomotives, getting them ready for the road, for when they're ready to go out and work passenger trains or what have you.
How long would it take them to go right through everything to be on the footplate of Canadian Pacific, going to the Great Central?
We say 2 to 3 years to get through the training course, to be suitable. That's to become a fireman. We give them a practical test when we think they're ready, but before that we have them in a classroom from time to time explaining rules and regulations, parts of a locomotive, and then when they are up to standard we'll give them a comprehensive written test, and then they're examined by a BR inspector, and if he thinks they're suitable, he will pass them as fit to fire. And then when they've spent a suitable time being a fireman, we'll consider them for driving, and they'll go through another comprehensive written test and be passed by a BR inspector again.
What I was saying to you earlier on, well, once you become a driver, you keep an eye on the fireman, look after him, make sure he's doing the job, and then eventually you'll bring him back onto your side and show him how to drive the engine at the same time. Yeah, and that's how they learn. Yeah. And that's how we used to do it in BR as well.
The other thing I want to know, I don't know whether it's covered in the course or not, though, is cooking on the footplate. Is that a myth, or did it really happen?
No, it's not a myth. We used to do it in the shunting yards. Obviously, you wouldn't do it on the express engine, because as soon as you put the shovel in there with your bacon egg on, it'd be through the chimney. But yeah, we used to do it in the yards, yeah.
Right then, Phil, well, I think I'm ready now to sign on.
Okay, come on then. I'd just like to print your name, sign, and the time you start.
So, signed on and raring to go, the first thing Phil and I discussed was the origins of steam.
It's quite incredible, really, though, isn't it, Phil, that it all developed from Isaac Newton's famous kettle on wheels theory.
That's right, yes, and then Newcomen and Watt harnessed it into a stationary steam engine, and then Richard Trevithick developed it even further for railway use, and George and Robert Stephenson came along with this locomotive planet for the Liverpool and Manchester Railway.
And this is what a successful locomotive looked like in 1830?
Exactly. Bearing in mind this is just a replica.
How basic was the design then?
Well, it's just a mere kettle on wheels. Firebox at end, boiler barrel and smoke box at end. 2 inside cylinders driving 1 single pair of driving wheels. Let's have a look from the footplate. You'll be amazed how simple it is. As you can see, very few controls, regulator to make it go, simple whistle control, 2 water gauge glasses, steam pressure gauge, and very rudimentary valve gear.
It's a very panoramic view from here as well, but not much protection from the elements.
No, quite right, and very drafty too.
Next, I found myself in the classroom for a thorough briefing on safety, etc. Firstly, Phil provided me with a high-visibility vest for when I'm out and about on the trackside. Although it must be said that to conform with the traditional image, steam crews don't normally wear them, unless, of course, it in any way compromises their or anyone else's safety. Other safety essentials Phil impressed upon me: always look both ways before crossing lines, never walk between the buffers of 2 vehicles, and remember that the driver's visibility is very restricted from a steam loco. We then dealt with signalling. Phil showed me the most common hand signals.
That movement means move away from the shunter to the driver. Correspondingly, move towards the shunter. Arm straight out, hand moved up and down, that means slow down to the driver. Hand straight up in the air, that means stop. And on the vehicle, if the shunter happens to be riding on the vehicle, his arm waved up and down like that. and same signals at night time with a hand lamp. That means move away from the shunter. Across the body means coming towards the shunter, and the same movements with a green light coming towards me and move away, only slowly. That's what a green light means. And red light obviously means stop.
On the Great Central, the fixed signals are of the upper quadrant semaphore variety and fall into 4 main categories. Stop signals, distance signals, which are repeaters for the stop signals, and if horizontal, must be passed at caution, expecting the following stop signal to be at danger. Subsidiary and ground signals, both of which operate in the same way as stop signals, but are used for shunting purposes. Phil then went on to the detailed workings of the steam engine. The firebox containing the burning coal boils the water and turns it into steam. You'll notice what is called a brake arch at the far end of the firebox. By extending the path of the hot gases, it aids combustion and also helps protect the tube plate from cold air. Water surrounds the firebox and the hollow tubes, which allow the hot gases to pass through. Under some 200 pounds per square inch of pressure, steam is allowed into the cylinders by means of the driver's regulator. Incidentally, if the steam tries to rise above the normal working pressure, the safety valve lifts and releases the excess to atmosphere. The piston's reciprocating motion is transferred to the wheels by means of the connecting rods. For me, the really clever thing is the way that the steam is used more than once. Instead of being wasted, the exhaust steam enters the smokebox through the blast pipes and creates an upward draft, which performs a number of intrinsic functions. It draws air into the firebox, which, like a pair of bellows, enlivens the fire, while simultaneously drawing the hot gases through the tubes, thus greatly intensifying the boiling process. As another byproduct, the footplate is kept clear of the smoke and fumes. So that's why the chuffs from the chimney contain steam and smoke combined. Phil also showed me a model of how the valve gear works. When starting off, the driver's reversing gear will be in the fully forward position, allowing the inlet valves to be open for the longest possible time, so that each piston receives the maximum amount of steam. Once the loco is moving, the driver winds the reversing gear progressively back as speed builds up. This shortens the travel of the valves, cutting off the steam earlier and thus making more efficient use of it. This in turn means greater economy of coal and water. After the vital classroom session, the real thing.
Well, Arfon, here's Clun Castle, the locomotive that you're going to be training on.
Now, I have to admit, it looks very impressive from down here, doesn't it?
Doesn't she? Yes. It's a 4-cylinder type locomotive, 2 inside cylinders, 2 on the outside. Lubricator that supplies oil to the cylinder. Main steam pipe that brings the steam in. And just referring back to the model we saw in the classroom, the valve chest behind there with the valves which admit the steam into and out of the cylinder and moves the piston backwards and forwards. Piston rod, crosshead, slide bars which allow the crosshead to move backwards and forwards, connecting rod and cupping rods which connect all the driving wheels together. Above the running plate, the reversing rod which is controlled from the cab by the driver, enabling to set the valves in the valve chest, thus allowing steam into the cylinder, thus moving the piston backwards or forwards, depending on the direction he wants to go. Behind the cab, we have a 6-wheel tender carrying 4,000 gallons of water and approximately 7 tons of coal.
All in all, an impressive piece of machinery, Phil.
She is indeed.
It's now evening and Clun Castle is about to be lit up.
Well, Phil, I'm all dressed up for the part. I'm ready to start.
Yes, if you like to climb up, Ray will take you through the steam raising procedure.
Ray Martin is an ex-BR fireman who, over the next couple of days, is going to try and make a fireman out of me.
All right, thank you. Right, the first thing to check is the water. Just so there's no false reading, you actually drain it out and then restore it. And that shows you've got water there. The next thing you do is to look in the firebox and you see there's 2 fusible plugs. Make sure they're not leaking. Your brick arch is okay and there's no water leaking from the tubes or the flues or around the side of the stays. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's all right. Right, now what we do, put a bit of timber in, just a bit for the bottom.
The fusible plugs have a core of lead and are designed to melt if the temperature of the firebox rises too high. This will allow any remaining water and steam to enter the firebox and quench the fire.
That'll do you. Chuck some old waste in. Then get some on the shovel. Right.
That's well oiled, is it?
This is all old cleaning waste, what the cleaners have used. Okay. Just rest it there. Get that going pretty well. Now there's no draft on this at the moment, so the flames could come back, so keep your face well away. Once it's going, just turn it over and drop it in. Okay, now we can get some more timber in.
The wood fire is just to warm the boiler through overnight. Steam raising will then be quicker the following morning when the coal is added.
See what I mean by the flames coming out?
Oh, yeah.
That's going nicely now. Get the door shut and let that burn through. Don't worry about the smoke coming in, because at this time you can't do anything about it, because the dampers are closed and there's nothing you can do. But once you get through and you get a bit of heat going, yeah, you'll be okay.
With no draft, the fumes were really quite obnoxious. The following morning, I began my progress up the ladder in more ways than one, starting as a cleaner.
That way it stops anybody from moving the engine, you see. Are you going to do the top half?
Yeah,
I've got
fine.
the ladder there,
Yeah.
and I'll do the bottom. Okay. Take some rags with you.
Right.
I'll have that one.
Right.
Put it on the running plate. In the old days, these would have been on the top link expresses out of Paddington.
How long would I have been doing this job for before I'd progress to fireman or...
Well, it all depends really. You'd probably be 2 to 3 years on these, and there'd be various engines. But that's all good and knowledgeable, because you would learn to know all the points, etc., of the engines, which would help you in your firing courses.
Yeah, you'd really get to know the engine doing this, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, yeah, because you get jobs where you've got to clean all the inside motions, and you get to know all the parts there as well.
What am I actually using here, Ray?
Well, this is actually a mixture of oil and paraffin, but in the old days we used to use a mixture. What we always used to call it as fake. Possibly it was the same sort of setup, but we always used to refer it as fake.
We have a crew of 4 here today, Ray. Is that normal?
Oh yeah, yeah, because what it is, one usually does the motions, and 2 will do the top and the tender.
How long would it take us?
I should think we should be on this till about 2.
It's a few hours then.
Oh yeah, well it's got to be nice and shiny, isn't it? Right then, the steam raiser's got £100 on the clock for us. So what we do now, before we open the doors, we put the blower on.
What does the blower do?
The blower creates a partial vacuum in the smoke box. So obviously with a vacuum, as soon as we open it, it draws air through and prevents the flames coming this way. So we put that on, and then we can open the doors. And there's a good back for us there. And what we'll do now, we'll rake it forward so we can get the pressure up.
What sort of pressure are we looking for, right?
Well, we want to get it up to about 200. We don't want to get to the red line and blow off, because it's a waste of steam, coal and your efforts as well.
How long will it take?
Well, it'll come round in about 20 minutes now. Once we'll open the damper as well.
What does the damper do?
The damper opens the bottom of the ash pan to let in what's known as secondary air. The primary air is actually going through the fire hole doors.
Right. Shall I close it? Shall I close it?
No, that's all right. We've got 3 dampers on here,
Yeah.
front, back and middle. We'll just open the front one for a start. You pass us the shovel, we'll put a bit round it.
So it all goes to the side now.
Well, what we're going to do, we're going to build it up. There's a saying, fire it light and keep it bright, meaning have a thin bed of fire, keep it bright so it's burning through, and you'll be okay.
I'm with you. What coal do you use? Is it Welsh coal?
It would have been in the old days, because the Great Western always had Welsh steam coal. And she'll soon come round now.
An hour later, with steam up, I had my first footplate ride on Clun Castle as a passenger, both to find my sea legs and to learn a little about the route. We towed a brake van in order to carry the video equipment and crew. The route that I'm learning over is 5 miles long, with 1 intermediate station at Corn. The terminus at Leicester North was temporarily out of action due to the construction of a new road bridge. The line is mostly on a rising gradient, the only exception being a brief respite at Switherland. The following day, I was all set to try my hand at the shovel. In BR days, coal was usually taken from a coaling tower. In preservation, a mechanical digger is more usual. Water is the other vital ingredient, and one of the fireman's duties is to keep the tender topped up.
Hello, Bill.
You reach.
And again. Right, gotcha. Right, drop the bag in then. Straight down. Okay, Bill. We'll stop him about a couple of inches from the top. Otherwise it runs all over here and then it washes all down into the coal and that.
How much water is going in now?
This is, by the time we finish, we put about 1,500 gallons in.
It's going in at quite a rate here as well, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah. Purely gravity fed though, by virtue of the fact of the overhead tower. No, it's all right. just caught on that.
I've often seen them overflowing, and
oh yeah.
sometimes I think it's on purpose.
Yeah, well this one's fitted with a scoop, and it will run out the scoop. But we don't want to do that because it's a waste of water.
Is that about it?
That's it, follow Bill. Always put the filler top back on, so there's no coal or dust in it. Always put the lid back on, so there's no dirt and coal can get in there, otherwise it might jam the ejectors.
With the loco and train positioned by Bill on platform 1, I was all ready for my first firing run on a 7-coach express running non-stop to Rothley.
And look back and just make sure the train leaves the platform all right. Not just yet, wait for this smoke cleared. No, look back and wait till the end of the train is clear of the platform, and then tell the driver, just say, clear of the platform. You've got seven coaches on. Yeah. Clear of the platform.
Righto.
Plenty on the back, so get it down the sides, both sides, and right up the front. We're all right for water at the moment. It's steaming well.
Can you explain how that works, the gauge?
The gauge, yeah. All it is, you've got all water in there. When it's finished, you've got steam on the top. At the moment, it's well up. The driver.
One aspect of firing I hadn't realized is the need to throw the coal right up to the front or to the left or right as dictated by any holes in the bed of the fire.
That's all right, we've got a noise.
We're on the 200
That's all
mark.
right, yeah, you're all right. Still got, your water's still up, so that's okay. This gauge here is the carriage warming. Obviously we're not about to disconnect it up because we're running as empty stock.
On a cold winter's day, steam heating could account for up to 25% of the steam pressure. Add that to a heavier load, steeper gradient, higher speed and longer run, I can see that the fireman would have to work much harder than I am.
Just test the gauge. Pull that up. Pull it up. That's your water level. So, put your injector on that side.
Taps on either side of the tender allow water to be transferred to the boiler. Once again, steam does the work of the injectors by creating a vacuum.
Has it picked up? Just bent over the side.
No, there's nothing coming out.
Nothing coming out?
No.
That's okay then.
No.
That means it's picked up.
Right.
It's actually transferring water from the tender into the boiler now, so that's okay.
If water is coming out of the overflow pipe, it means the water hasn't been picked up. In other words, not sucked into the boiler, just pouring out under gravity.
All right with this now?
No, that's okay. It's dropping back a bit now because we're putting cold water in the boiler and the regulator's still open. That's okay. You shut the doors just a bit, just leave them a bit open. A bit more, that's it. Right, put another 4 up the front, down the sides and right up the front, okay?
Right.
I'll wear the door for you. Right up, get it right up, throw it right up, that's it.
When travelling on a bucking bronco, suddenly the firebox becomes a very small target.
Put some down the right as well now.
Eh?
Down the right hand side. Throw it right up. No, you've got to throw it right up. Don't worry about that. Turn your steam valve down on your injector. Right off, right round. And your water valve on the tender. That's alright, it's dropped down to 200, no problem. We've still got plenty of water there. When we get round to Swithland siding, you actually drop down into Rosary. So obviously you want a fair level of water here, because obviously the water's going to run to the front of the boiler. In which case it's going to leave the fusible plugs exposed on the climb up the ground. So that's, you'll be alright with that anyway. It's coming round again, so there's no problem. You're doing alright. You're doing alright.
I didn't realise that a fireman had so much to do, actually. I thought it was just
Oh, no,
bring
it's
the
not just
car
about
on.
throwing coal in a hole. There's an art to firing.
Yeah. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I think the fireman has more to do than the driver.
Well, the driver, he has a lot of responsibility because he's in charge of the loco and the train as well. Now, if this was a left-hand drive engine, the fireman would be that side. The road up here from Swithland actually goes round to the right, so the stop signal, the outer O for the station, is obviously your side. So you would have to tell the driver whether it was on or off.
Right.
In the old days, the right-of-way used to be like that, right-of-way driving. The driver was...
Shut off.
Right, open the doors now. That's it, leave it like that. Put say a Midland engine, the driver would be this side. And with the road curving round that way, the actual outer home for the station, it would be obviously on your side and the driver wouldn't see it. So you would tell him if he was off or on. When we used to work with VR, the right away used to be right away driver and he would know then, you see. But that's alright, he's shutting off now, we're downhill into... Rotary station now, so you can...
The water seems to be going lower.
Well, that's all right. As I said, we're going down now, down the bank. But that's okay. That's acceptable. When we're in the station, it levels out there, and the water will probably come to around half full. So you're okay. Open your doors now because we don't want to blow up in the station. On this side, Bill. Got it on this side. Just check your injectors still working. Just look out.
Yeah.
It's all right. No
okay.
water, so it's still transferring the water from the tender into the boiler.
Starting to lift up now, isn't it?
Yeah, we see it's going to level out now.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the momentum of stopping, the water is to and fro it. But you'll probably find out, it'll probably bottom out, probably be a third in the glass. But that's all right, because this is as far as we go. And it leaves you plenty of space. If it comes round and starts to blow off, well, obviously you don't want that in the station. So we've got room in the boiler to put water. And you did okay. First class. Well done.
Oh, I don't know. How long did it take you to master getting the coal in the right place in the box?
Well, I don't know really. It's hard to say. In the old day, the drivers used to help you, obviously, and say, you know, put so many shovels of soap one side and other. But you see, you actually watch the chimney, because if you've got no smoke one side, there's a hole in the fire that side. But if you've got a nice light grey smoke right across the chimney, you're steaming first class.
It's not just about throwing it in, though, is it?
Oh, good Lord, no. There is an art of firing. And we actually had a handbook issued to us on BR, saying the good points and bad points. Obviously, you didn't want a load of coal in the middle and nothing round the side.
The run we've just had wasn't too strenuous. What would it have been like going up Shap or Talerdig or something
well,
like that?
I never went up Shap. Well, I worked on the Midland down to St Pancras, and we had some good banks there over Sharnbrook and Desborough and out through Kibbus and that. So we had some good banks there.
You wouldn't have had a moment's rest, though, as a fireman on something like that.
Well, the Leicester lads, we used to relieve the Thames Clyde, the Leeds chaps in at tea time, and then we were right away St Pancras then. And in those days I used to smoke, but I never sat down, not until Mill Hill Tunnel, and then I used to have a cigarette. And then coming up through Mill Hill Tunnel, we always used to meet a double-headed Manchester train, and on the fireman's side were two colour lights. And obviously I had to watch out to tell the driver. And we always seemed to meet this double-headed, because he was working hard, and we were going down the bank and running the fire down, ready to get to Kentish Town Loco.
I was going to say it's a young man's job, but it's not about brute strength, really. I've just discovered it's actually it's method and technique and where you put it.
It is an art.
Yeah.
Simple as that. As you say, it's not just a matter of throwing coal in the hole. You've actually got to direct it.
Well, you're an expert.
No, you're an expert in the making. First class. Well done.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Another day literally dawns, but today I'm the driver.
Well, Bill, it's my big day, but I have to admit I'm not usually up at this early hour, but there's obviously a lot of work to be done on the engine before we can take it off shed.
Yep, well, we signed on, we've looked at the notices, we've got our diagram for today. We know we've got some pre-weigh work on the track when we do go out this morning. Now we've picked our oil bottles up, we've got them filled, now we start the hard work of oiling the locomotive up. We'll always start off in a set sequence when you're oiling the locomotive up. Start from one end, work your way round. And we'll start from the little end on the driving wheels, not from the tender today, and then we can finish up at the tender end. Now, when you take a cork out, you always unscrew a cork and not pull it. The reason for that is because if if it was loose inside, as you see, there is a screw edge inside there, right? You can see from the cork where it's screwed in. If you didn't have that, when the locomotive was in motion, the cork would just fly out, okay? Now, inside the little end is a reservoir where you pour the oil. You apply the oil into the hole, right, and they'll just top it up till you see the oil coming up, okay? Come in. If you overfill, all you need to do, right, is put your finger in, squeeze it out, and screw your cork back in, okay? And then just wipe off the top. Now, the oil sits in a reservoir, and inside that reservoir, obviously, if you've got an oblong pad which is set into the motion. That allows the oil to soak through at a minimum amount when the motion is going round, and that lubricates the white metalling within the bearing. All right?
How many corks are there on the Castle class?
There are 148 corks and 158 oiling points altogether. That's including pots, oiling pots as well, underneath and on the outside motion.
Sounds an awful lot, is that? More than on most locos?
Yes, it is. It takes approximately 2 to 2.5 hours to oil one of these up, whereas on other locomotives with outside cylinders, probably an hour and you're done.
We'd better get on with it then.
Right,
2 hours later, now comes the painstaking task of checking out the loco prior to leaving the shed.
All right, we'll do a check on the loco on the front. First of all, we'll have a look in the firebox and see whether we've got any leaks. We're looking for tubes leaking, looking for stage leaking, and also fusible plugs. Well, as you can see, the tubes are right just up above the brick arch, and you can see whether anything's leaking. By the front of the firebox, you see whether the water's running down or not. Check your stays, make sure there's none missing, and make sure none of them are leaking. Then your fusible plugs are up in the crown, one at the front, one at the back.
Oh, yeah.
And if you see they're damp or anything like that, then the locomotive's failed, because that's vital. If one of those leaks, you can damage the firebox. Okay, right, next we'll check the water gauge. On Great Western locomotives there's only one, so it's vital that you make sure it's safe, because if that blows, you haven't got another one, a spare one to look on. So we'll let the water out. Okay, take the protective cover off. Always make sure you shut this off before you take the protective cover off, because if it did blow while that was open, you'd do some damage. Check round the joints. There's a rubber in there. Just check round and make sure they're not leaking. This one has been leaking, but it's okay at the moment. So give that a clean off, or the farmer will give that a clean off, make sure it's nice and clean, and so you can see what we're doing. Put the protective cover back on. And next thing, when you reopen this, always warm the glass up first. So let the steam run through, then let your water in. The reason for that is because obviously cold glass, hot water, bang. Okay? Next thing we'll do, we'll check all the joints, make sure there's no blows, no leakages. Okay, everything looks okay. We're going to have a look at the smoke box. Never had your shredders, did you?
Certainly didn't have 3.
All right, you manage.
Ah, here
That's
it goes.
Keep on minding, that's it. Right, you're far enough down. Now that should unlock by pulling that out, twisting it up. You come around this side, otherwise you'll get knocked off. That's it. And open the smoke box. Okay?
Right.
I'll come this side now.
I've never seen inside a smoke box before.
Well, there you are. Not much difference to the front of the firebox in actual fact. All you've got is the tubes, what you've seen in the firebox, but this end of it. The only other thing you've got in here, within the large tubes, you've got superheater tubes. All right, the reason for that is to superheat water, and makes it good steaming. double blast pipe, as you can see. So that's because we've got four-cylinder, it's a four-cylinder locomotive, okay?
What are we looking for now to check?
We're looking for now is leaks in the superheaters, which are those pipes what come out of the large tubes, leaks round the small tubes and large tubes, and from the washout plugs. You see the washout plugs at the bottom of each, there's one each side, okay?
Some of the bottom ones seem blocked.
Third up, that's another thing you have to look out for. Make sure none of them are blocked. That is loose char in there, so that we don't worry too much about that. That'll blow out when we move. It's probably when the smoke box was cleaned, it was just pushed into the tube. But yeah, check, make sure there's none blocked, because that will reduce the steaming. See, looks good. Nothing wrong. Nice and dry. Smoke box is okay. Nice and clean. Been cleaned out by the fireman the night before. Looks well. Okay.
I'll let you close it.
When you're doing these doors up, make sure they're as tight as possible and just listen to see whether there's any air drawing. Because if you do, it'll stop your steaming, and also it'll burn the front of the smoke box.
Right.
Here we go.
That looks good. Back to the footplate then.
Back to the footplate we go. Right, just to refresh you what the farmer's duties are on the locomotive once we're operative. His main job is to maintain steam pressure for the driver and make sure his water level is a correct water level while running. By that, he keeps the glass at about 3/4 of a glass and keeping his steam pressure around about 200 pounds per square inch. If he's operating steam heating, he'll have his steam heating apparatus on and running at about between 30 and 35 pounds per square inch. To maintain his steam, his pressure, water pressure, or his water level, he would use his exhaust injector when he's running, okay, or his live steam injector, which are these two. These two are his exhaust, his live steam injector. This is his steam heating apparatus, the steam heating valve, okay?
Well, what does that do?
That puts steam through to the coaches, and then you just adjust your pressure onto this clock, okay? Your dampers, front, back and middle dampers, that's to draw air into your fire, keep your fire nice and bright.
Do you use those a lot?
When you're running, yeah, always keep them open. Keep your back damper open all the while, and then you've got air coming through and keeping your fire nice and bright. Right, just show you the driver's controls. You got your regulator.
I know that one.
Brake, reversing gear, forward and back, blower.
What does the blower do?
The blower creates a vacuum in the smoke box and creates a draft over the fire. So if you need to, you know, draw a draft on your fire, you can open it up like so, and you can hear it drafting, okay? And your vacuum. Now your vacuum's used for your brake, to create a brake on the engine. These locomotives don't have a steam brake, so you've got to use your vacuum all the time. It creates a 25-inch vacuum, which is on Great Western engines only. On all other engines, there's 21 inches.
Can you explain the difference between the train pipe and the reservoir on the gauge?
The reservoir is the amount of vacuum you're creating on the engine, and the train pipe is the amount of vacuum you're creating on the train, on the coaches.
What's the oil gauge, Bill?
That indicates to the driver when that needle is in the white, that oil is going through into the pistons, okay? Obviously when you open the regulator, that needle should come round into the white. When you're coasting, it tells you on there, shut your regulator and open it again until you see the needle approach the white. As soon as it's in the white, then you know you're still pumping oil into your pistons.
So we covered everything?
That's about it, yeah. The only thing we could do now is, as soon as we got steam, we can test our brake before we leave the shed. Make sure we're creating 25 inches of vacuum. Because obviously if we're not, then we've got to get a fitter out and have a look at it.
The obligatory cup of tea later, and we're ready to set off.
test the brake off on. Put the ejector on by pulling this handle. Right. Create 25-inch of vacuum. Go and pull. That's it. Right.
Is that about it?
Yeah. Wait till it comes down to 25 on the reservoir as well. Coming round nicely. Right, now make a brake application. No, make a brake application by pulling the brake. Right, now bring it back again. Right. Now we know the brake's working. Right. Right, next thing.
I don't knock that back. I keep that down.
You leave that on now. Right, forward gear. Put the catch down. Pull this catch downwards like that and wind it forward the other way. That's it. Okay. Right, now pull the catch in again. Right. Handbrake's off. Fireman's taking the handbrake off. Right, next thing, check your signal. Make sure your signal's up. Right, you've got the middle lollies off. Right. Now check round the locomotive. Ask the fireman if he's all clear that side.
We all clear, fireman?
All clear. You've got the dolly as well.
Right. You're all clear your side.
Yeah.
Right. You can now move. Blow the whistle to let everybody know you're moving. That's it. Right, away you go. Regulator open. A little bit more. That's it. Right.
Hey, we're moving.
Yep. Right, now just ease the regulator back slightly. Not too much, that's it. Just a touch more, open, touch more. That's it. A bit more. Right, go on, touch more. Listen for the beat from the chimney.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. Got it?
Yeah, off of it.
Right. Now you can ease off just slightly, give it a nice soft beat. That's it. Now give another blow on the whistle because you're going on a crossing. That's it. Normally there'd be a flagman here during the weekend working, but as we're on our own,
So ease it off a bit,
fireman should give you a clear signal. Right. We're clear this side. Now you can close the regulator, let it coast. Now, halfway up the platform, you can't see it. There is a repeater signal. It's a blue sign with a white light. Now, the fireman will tell you if it's showing off. Have we got the repeater, right?
Yes, off.
Now, that tells us that our starter signal is off and we can cross over to the home signal to reverse back into platform 1. The fireman will tell you whether the starter's off because you never know, the signal might have jammed it on between the repeater and the signal. All right, Ray?
Yeah, right away.
Okay. That's 5 miles an hour over the crossing. Okay.
I'm amazed, it's not a very good view really when you're looking out of it, when it's going in a straight line.
You're blind this side.
Yeah.
That's why it's up to the fireman to look out for you.
They open it just a shade or?
No, you should be all right here. You can roll now up to this signal. As soon as the tender is clear of these signals here, it can come to a stop. By applying the brake nice and gently. Okay, shut the regulator now. That's it. Now start applying the brake nice and gently. Go on, over you go. That's it. There we are. While you're doing that, you should be looking back this way, right, to make sure you're clear of the signal. All right?
Right, yeah.
Right, now reverse gear. Clip up. That's it. Round to reverse gear. All the way back. Make sure your clip's in. Right, now check your signal, see if the signalman's pulled your signal off. He hasn't done yet. We now instruct the fireman, because the signalman hasn't pulled the peg off, we've been here 2 minutes, we instruct the fireman now to go down to the telephone and ask the signalman what the delay is, okay? Ray, would you like to go to the phone, mate, and find out what's going on?
Will do.
Now Ray will go down to the phone. What's he say, Ray?
Pass at danger and observe all of the signals.
Right, right. Now he's instructed us to pass at danger. That means he can't get the signal off. So we've got instructions from the signalman now to pass at danger, but observe all other signals once we've passed there, okay? So now you can set back. Right, just blow on the whistle. That's it, open the regulator. But keep your eye on down that side. What you really want to turn yourself round, okay? That's it. You must observe always. You never know, you might get somebody running across in front of them while they're setting off.
We were watching out for the subsidiary calling on signal because the platform is occupied by our coaches. With track circuit interlocking in the platform, the signalman can normally only pull off the smaller subsidiary signal.
Give another blow on the whistle to let the shunter know that we're approaching his train. Now if you look out, you'll probably see him call you on. See him? Yeah. Right, that means we can go now onto the coaches. Give it a little bit more. That's it.
So get ready with the...
Yep, I'll tell you when to start braking. Just give her a little bit more steam. A bit more. That's it. That'll do. That'll roll at that now. It should roll off the coach nicely. Just start checking your brake now. That's it. Nice and gentle. Let it off. Let it off. That's it. Let it roll. And shut. On up. That's it. Now shut. Go a bit more. Let it roll. That's it. Go on. And a bit more. Go on. A bit more. Get the feel of the regulator. That's it.
Because we were already attached to the coaches yesterday, I never saw how to couple up, so now I'm going under as well.
Take the coupling off the safety catch. Right. You put the bit. I find it's best to put one hand under there, otherwise you can catch your fingers. Right. Go on.
The guard gave Bill the details of our train.
Train staff, 7 vehicles for 238 tons.
Yeah, screw it right up tight.
Does it have to go right up, does it?
No, it won't go right up. But
Till it tightens.
Yeah, screw it up until it's tight. Yeah, because the buffers are away a bit. And you'll be all right here. Is that it? Leave it in the. But let it hang down. Pull it down. That's it. Right, now get your hose for your vacuum, and the hose from there. You've got to get those two lugs under each other, and then the others will drop in. So I'll hold one, but you hold that one. You see, take it over a bit.
Oh, that's the way they go.
Yeah. Twist your the other. You're twisting it the wrong way.
That's it.
Twist it. That's it. Put your pins in so that they don't split. Your pin underneath.
Where does that go?
And just hold it over the top. Just wind it over the top. Just out the way. That's it. Because if it drops down into the coupling, it could get trapped when you want to unbag. Take it the other
Can
side.
I get it on?
Take it the other side of the bag.
Put it like that.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Now you always get out the same side as you came in. See
Right.
the driver's side.
Well, we've hooked up.
Right, now next job is then to create vacuum, brake over, pull that down, that's it. Right, give it a good lug. That's right. Now we need to create vacuum on the train now to get the train brake off. Same again, 25 inches, right? But the guard will test the brake now. We've tested the engine. Right. Now it's up to the guard to test his brake. Okay? And he'll do that by applying the emergency brake in his compartment.
It doesn't take long actually for it
No,
to go out.
it doesn't take long to it will slow up now and then build up gradually. See the brake's coming off now, you can feel yourself rolling forward, right. While we're waiting for that, put your gear into forward gear. Okay. That's it. Make sure the catch is down. Right. The next thing we need is a tin of detonators, right? Which are there. They've already been brought to us, and also the staff.
For the single line working.
The staff is for the single line working. Okay. Now
Just
we've got-
switch this
we've
off
got-
now.
No, you leave that on now. Right, just leave that on. Okay. Right. Now we need to look through there and see if our starter signal's off. Yeah, it's off. Right. Right. He's done the brake test.
How do you know?
There, you can see it's dropped down. Okay. Now that'll build back up again. Now once that's built back up, we're ready to go. Then we've got to wait for the guard now. So you look out, wait for the guard to give us the green flag, then we can set sail. Just ask the fireman if he's ready. If he's okay to leave.
Are we ready, fireman?
Yes. Ready when you are.
We're due away at 1300. Okay. 1300 from here. 1308 at Quorn. Due away at 1309. So you keep hold of that. That's the time we keep to.
Well, we're only about a minute to go.
All right, keep an eye on the guard then.
Because I'm only a trainee, we are, of course, not allowed to carry passengers, but you could have fooled me. In days before preservation, the platform would have been fairly empty with everybody on board. Nobody wanted to lean out of the window in those days, when, after all, steam was the norm.
And the reason for that is so we know where to stop in the platform. Right away now. Yeah, give him a whistle. Check your starter signal again, make sure it's off. Okay, away you go.
This is all.
Regulator, yeah, brakes off, regulator open. Right, you know your signal's off, just keep an eye back to make sure nobody's getting on the train. Right, now you can shut your cylinder taps. Okay, just knock that down. No, I don't. Like that. No, it's like this bit. Knock it down and push it forward. Okay? Keep your eyes open at the back. Okay. All right? Now check your advanced starter. You'll see your advanced starter in a minute. Just the other side of the bridge.
Okay.
Right? Make sure that's on. All right?
Yeah.
Got your advanced starter.
Right, the fireman's instructed we've got our advanced starter. Okay? Now wind your reversing lever back to about 35%. Wind it back, that's it, go on. Alright, that's it, about there. Right, now you can open it a little bit more now. That's it, that's nice. Now, always observe. There might be an obstruction on the line. There could be people praying on the line. You know what time you've got to be at Quorn, so check your watch. Run the locomotive to your timings. So if you think you're going a bit too fast, you just ease off.
Do I whistle before bridges? Do I whistle before the bridge?
Yep.
Like now?
Yeah, give it a blast. Alright, keep it open, that's it. Keep it in front of the brake.
Beautiful sound.
Yeah, give it a little bit more. That's it, you're right there. You can keep it going at that pace now, that's fine. Have a look round, make sure the fireman's okay, keep an eye on your water, your steam pressure. Check your vacuum, make sure that's not leaking off. Blower off now as well. Shut it right now, go your blower. Right, shut it right off like that, that's it. Because the draft of the chimney is keeping the draft of the fire going, though, so you don't need it on. Not only that, it saves water as well. Now you must remember that when you do shut your regulator, the first thing you do is put that blower on, otherwise you'll get burned. Okay? That's the first thing in mind. Shut that blower on. Have a look back now and again along the train. Right, nobody jumping out, is there?
Still there. Do I ease off as I get to the top of the grade?
I'll tell you when to shut off. Make a mental note of where I tell you to shut off, and then, you know, in the future you ever drive again, you know what sort of distance you need to stop at a station at the speed you're going. Don't forget what I said about the blower before you shut your regulator. Before you shut your regulator. Right, blower. That way. Knock it down. That's it. Give it back. Now shut your regulator. Right, now bring your regulator back slightly so the lever's in the white. That'll do nicely. Bit too much, just so it's showing. Right, I'll tell you when to start making the brake application. Get your hand on the brake now, ready for a brake.
Even though the regulator...
Blow the whistle as you approach the station. And do nicely. Right, a nice gentle brake application there, down to about 20 on the train. Okay? Bring it over, that's it. Now bring it back again. Nice and gentle, that's it. Not too much. Now a bit more. That's it. Not too much. Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. That's it. Let her roll in now. Let her roll in. That's it. Let her roll. Let her roll. Right, start. No, you want a brake application, isn't it? Just let her roll. That's it. Now you pull that brake application now. Right, now keep an eye on the guard. You know what time... Yeah, you can shut it down now, yeah. Right, now keep an eye on the guard. You know what time you're due away? Yeah. Alright, right away. Smack on time, mate. Right, there you go. Right, we've got no starter signal here. We're on signal line working, so we don't need it. The next peg you'll come to is the home signal before road clear. But don't forget the P-way work prior to the...
Go up or down now? Down, yep.
Yeah, shut it on now. Shut it off. Don't forget the P-way work prior to the viaduct. You know, when we was in the cabin this morning, you see the notice up there about P-way work?
Shall I be taking the...
Yep, start winding the back now to 45, that's it. Right, the taps are blowing now, I'll just... That's it, yep.
When the loco is stationary, steam condenses in the cylinders. The cylinder taps drain the water off. Otherwise, the water, which will not compress, could knock the cylinder cores out.
Have you looked back to make sure the drain's clear? Nobody's fallen out? No. When we approach this bend, okay, give a sharp blow on the whistle. Just give a shout to fireman, ask the fireman if he's okay. All right, fireman? You all right? Yeah, right, mate. You always want to have a check with the fireman because he thinks you might have forgot him, you see. Just know that he's still there. Leave it like that now, that's just right. Give another long blast of the whistle now, we're approaching the... soon as we get under this bridge, shut off, forward gear, and let them coast, because we've got people working up here, as you know, and we need to know exactly where they are. Yeah, don't forget the blower. That's it. That's it. Forward gear. Right. Now just open the regulator tuck so you've got your needle in the white. Now keep an eye open now for these people up here. Proceeding at caution there, because we don't know exactly where they're working. We've got an idea that there should be a flagman out approximately 30 to 40 yards from where they're working. And he gives us an advance warning. See him now, see him on the left hand side,
oh, yeah,
part of that distance
On the left-hand side.
Give a blow on the whistle. He should acknowledge your signal to let you know that he said, give him another blast.
Okay.
Right, now you can open her up again now.
Open this first.
Open the regulator first, that's it. And you can leave the blower now, because we're only going up to the next signal. Find the home signal as a danger.
How far is it?
You'll see it in a minute. Yeah, see it now? It's a danger. Right. So shut off and let her roll.
I'll leave
That's on, yeah. That's why I said about not bothering turning off, because we're only going to short this. Now get ready to start braking. There's a flagman there with a red flag, so you'll have to stop anyway. You're okay, she'll start rolling down here. You're starting to go over the top. Start rolling down there.
Should I be slowing now, or just
No, you're okay for a minute. I'll tell you when to start applying the brake. Right, start applying the brake now, nice and gentle. That's it, lovely. Yeah, that was just right. Smashing stop, right. Shut your vacuum off now. With the handle. Just push your handle up. That's it. Right, blow her down a bit. Not making a lot of noise. That's it. Now we'll wait here for a couple of minutes, and we'll do the same as what we done earlier on when we was waiting for the signal. Wait 2 minutes, yeah, and then we're going after Bobby what's gone on. Okay?
what time are we supposed to be in, roughly?
What's your timetable say? 18. 30, yeah, 18 minutes past.
Oh, we got a couple
We're
of
on
minutes.
time.
Yeah.
All right, driver.
Right,
Thank you, Ray.
It's some doing shunting in the station. It's clear now.
Okay, thank you.
right, away you go.
We're a little bit late, I think. So.
Couple of minutes down, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll make that one. those release valves down when we get in the platform. Stop those pistons blowing. Safety caps blowing.
Can I cut this off?
No, he's leaving it as is now. We're only running into the platform. £10 mph over the crossing. Right, you shut off now and let her roll. That's it. Shut it right off, that's it. Don't forget to blow the whistle approaching the station.
Okay.
Right, get ready to make brake application. Right, start checking your train now. Slight notes, so slight brake application. Down to 20. Go on, down to 20. Right, take it off. And again. A little bit more this time. Now take it off. Let it roll. Now again. Go on. Right over. Right over, push it right up, that's it. Now destroy your brake. That's it, leave it like that. Now you do that because we're going to uncouple, and you can't uncouple with back 'em.
Right.
So you back 'em on, okay?
2 minutes late. That's not bad.
Oh well. That's not bad, really not bad.
By the time we got back on shed, it was raining.
So we're back on shed, Bill. What's
Right.
do we put it in?
Yeah, mid
Neutral.
gear. Yeah, the 2 zeros. That's it. Cylinder taps.
Is that it?
Yep. Right, just push the brake over and I'll screw the handbrake down. Right, back them off. Right, that's the engine stabled. Right, the next thing is to examine the engine to make sure there's nothing run hot. We do that straight away because all the time the engine's cooling down. Right, use the back of the hand and you just touch all the moving parts, okay? Like so.
That was quite
Stone
cool,
cold,
isn't it?
Yep. Same there, there, okay? And also check the springs, right? Make sure there's no broken springs as you're walking around. It's a thorough examination. Make sure there's no cotter pins falling out or there's none loose, okay? Same again, do the crosshead, right? Coupling rod at the back, axle, okay. Check, make sure trimmings are all in.
It's quite incredible, really, how cool this is,
Yes, yeah.
considering it's been
Yeah,
running.
when it's been running, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Check, make sure trimmings are in. Okay. Same again here, trimmings. Check all the corks are in. Same again, trimmings on there. That's okay. Right. We missed that one. Go back and do that one. Okay, nice and cool. Same again this side. Exactly what we've done over there. Right, I'll let you do it this time. Just check the axles. Okay, you can soon feel whether they're warm or hot
that's cool.
as soon as you touch.
Yeah.
Check trimmings. All right, trimming inside there. Check, make sure it's in.
all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same again there. That axle there. Okay.
Yeah.
Crosshead. All right, little end. Driving wheel axle.
check round, make sure the springs are okay, no broken leaves. No. Okay. All right, big end and inside. Okay. Checking to make sure all the pins are in.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing's loose. Corks are in.
Yeah.
Yep. Same again.
No, that's okay. That's cool.
Lovely. No broken spring. No.
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 No, that's okay.
Fine.
That's it, is it?
Yep. Now I'll go to the lobby now and we'll make a repair card out, or no repair card, because there's nothing wrong with the locomotive. The fitters will be very pleased with that, because there's no work to do on the engine.
So I didn't do any damage to it?
No, you didn't do any damage.
So that's the driver's job done?
That's it, that's me completed. I'll just wait for the fireman now to complete his duties, and then he'll come in and tell me whether there's anything wrong with the smoke box. If not, that's it, finished.
And we'll have a cup of tea ready for him?
Yep, lovely.
All right.